Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us at the start of another week. The Celtic briefing after a fairly comfortable win against Motherwell at the weekend, 2-0. An important result given the context of other results elsewhere as well, and also to look ahead to tomorrow's match against Ferencvaros in the Europa League. It's an important one for Celtic after 2 defeats in the competition so far. Sean Martin and Alison McConnell joining us as normal on a Monday. Sean, Alison, it was a routine win in the end, I would say. Celtic didn't really seem too troubled by Motherwell at all after Jota got the first goal, Sean.
I would say it was a confidence boosting win in the way that they went about it, kept the clean sheet again. First half I thought wasn't great, but good enough, and I think you could probably apply that to the second half as well. The goals, though, I think we should probably mention the goals specifically because it was two different types of goals. I thought the first one was great vision from Rogic and Jota's wee shuffle. It was basically a shuffle of his feet while he was still in full flight. It was smashing. It was. I think you people have been asking questions of the goalkeeper, but I think to give Jota the benefit of the doubt, I think it was his speed of thought that took the goalkeeper unawares rather than anything else. Just think he didn't give him time to set himself in a better position because of the kind of how fleet-footed he was to hit it with his left. And the second goal, it's just a cracking strike, innit? I mean, it's one of those just goal of the month competition type of goals. I thought, and I kind of mentioned it in the stats preview, that ball and goalie actually starts the move, plays the 1-2, and his underlap kind of creates the space for Turnbull to eventually creep into, and then after that it's all Turnbull right enough. So I thought overall it was a decent display. The clean sheet being arguably as important as anything else. I thought the defence done okay, even though they weren't tested that much.
It's a fair point from Sean Allison. The assist from Rogic for the first goal. So often, and after turnovers like that, and if one of the players is breaking forward, they've got the opportunity to slip in a teammate, and they don't put enough on the pass, and the attack breaks down, or the sting is taken out of it. But it was just pretty much almost perfect, and that's why Jota had to, as Sean recognises, just kind of quickly rearrange his feet and his stride and get the ball into his path very quickly. And the finish was lovely. And I think, though, that Kelly, looking back, will probably be wondering why he did leave that space. But I think that Jota, as Sean says, was able to outfox him with the speed of thought.
Yeah, I think it was the speed of the movement as much as anything else. I thought it was classic Tom Rogic when you reference the pass. I thought it was just perfectly picked out, and then the execution of it moves. He collected the ball on 1 foot and well advancing forward. But it was in real time. It was a staggeringly swift move, and I think you've got to applaud it. I think you've got to give credit to the attacker. I think
I think we've got a few wee Wi-Fi gremlins in the system again. They're coming and going here. So apologies if that's playing up for everyone that's with us. Alison, you're with us mainly, but there's a wee bit of freezing going on. The second goal, Sean, goal of the month. You said it. I think that's probably done and dusted from a Celtic point of view, anyway.
I think in the second half in general, though, although the goal was a cracking strike, I think that there was a decidedly flatlining of chances and creativity after it. I think it was exactly what they needed, right enough, an early goal in the second half. Again, with Celtic, that seems quite crucial this season. If they get an early goal, then that not only opens the game up for them to take advantage of other spaces, but settles their own nerves as well. And I think that was the case in the second half. Not that Motherwell were overwhelming Celtic or anything like that. They weren't. They were pretty wasteful when they did get forward. I don't think Joe Hart did actually physically have to keep a shot on target out. But regardless, I think it still settled Celtic. After Turnbull did score, like I said, I think there was a kind of a drop in intensity. Perhaps that's natural, but it was pretty early for it to be a drop. And I think it was as I say, a confidence boosting display, but there was still definite places that they can improve. I thought a couple of this cross heavy thing that they're doing at the moment relies on choosing the right cross for no go up front, and you're dinking in the ball And then when Giakoumakis comes on, you're drilling it across. You're kind of thinking, should that not be the other way about? I think a couple of players let themselves down with the crossing in that regard. I'm sure we'll come on to ball and goalie in a minute. So the only other thing I would say is that I thought the officiating was pretty poor again. Not just for Celtic but for Motherwell as well. But I do think that, for instance, the foul on Turnbull was a particularly bad one. I thought that could have been a red. I thought, again, and I mentioned this I think to you, Andy, last week, that there's almost a reluctance from Celtic players to kind of, with want a better phrase, back up one of their teammates when they're on the end of quite a bad one. Kyogo's had a few this season. Turnbull had one in on Saturday, and there's no Celtic player really to be seen when they're down on the ground and there's people moaning and trying to get at them and stuff, which I don't like to see. I don't know if that's instructions not to get involved from the management or not, but there seems to be a distinct lack of backup when a Celtic player gets clattered, I've noticed.
Is that something you've observed as well, Alison?
To be honest, I hadn't really noticed it until Sean had pointed it out. But I think I do wonder if that is an instruction just to come from the management, just to say, go and focus on your own game and just let the referee officiate. I'm not sure if it's as structured and as formal as that, or if it is a combination of new teammates coming in together. I also think, I'm not sure there's a huge amount of leadership at the minute within the squad. I think guys like Joe Hart and Callum McGregor, but when you take them out, I'm not sure that there are too many that are particularly vocal, and I think it's something that you could do with.
The inclusion of ball and goalie, Sean, I don't think any of us predicted it in the lineups before the game. Anyway, nope. We actually
did been caught with that one.
Yeah, in fact, we did an article a couple of weeks ago saying that the ball and goalie conundrum was a confusing one. What is holding him back? Maybe he was injured and we just didn't know now. But Montgomery had been playing there, and I think that's what we expected to continue, given the injuries to Taylor and Scales is yet to really be included from the start. I think this is maybe something that will frustrate Postecoglou looking back, because you would think then that in the Europa League, ball and goalie would be just surefire to crack on and continue, but that can't happen because he's not in the Europa League squad. But what did you make of him being included in the first place, and then how he performed on the park?
I mean, you said it yourself when he was in for that Livingston game. I think I predicted him to be in the lineup two games in a row after that, and he was nowhere to be seen. So I did catch us unawares again. I think overall, he done okay. I think he's crossing, same as another couple of players, let him down. We can't really not mention the handball, which was a handball, but it was stupid but instinctive. But I mean, I see a lot of people going, "Oh well, look at the VAR. If they had VAR, he could console himself with the fact that it would show the Motherwell player handled it directly before him anyway. But it doesn't really take away that it was an instinctively daft thing to do as well. I think he was really good with his pressing, and I think he played, as I said already, a key role in that Turnbull goal where he's underlapping runs. So I think overall, he had a decent display, and I think it's shown that he can contribute if he's asked to. Obviously, as you say, it's now irrelevant for tomorrow night because he wasn't included in the squad. So that's one position we know is going to change from the weekend.
Yeah, Alison, it was a surprise. Was it one that you were happy to see during the game?
I'm not sure about happy or not. I just think that I wouldn't have anticipated it. Partly, a big reason actually I wouldn't have anticipated it is just with one eye on tomorrow night's game. I thought the manager would probably opt to go with a very similar starting lineup that will then take to the field tomorrow night. I think it's a huge game against Ferencvaros. I think you really need to try and get a few points on the board if you can now and kickstart this Europa League campaign. So I was surprised in that sense, because obviously now we know that there has to be a change and someone coming in who potentially hasn't played any football for a few weeks now. So it was an interesting one. I'm sure there were reasons for it, but I wouldn't have called it. I didn't call it beforehand if you go back and look at the predictions. So yeah, I'm not sure too many of us would. And I have to be honest, after Livingston, I wasn't sure that ball and goalie would have been cited again in a Celtic shirt, to be frank.
Yeah, well, he was included in a lacklustre performance on that occasion yesterday, on Saturday. It was a good Celtic performance that he was part of, so that might change the perception slightly. Frank Brennan with a comment here. It's important to remember that It's tomorrow afternoon Celtic game. It's what a weird.
Sorry,
timing
tomorrow
for-
afternoon. Yeah, the odd kick-off
it's
time.
just totally strange. Middle of the day on a Tuesday. I mean, that's a reserved for Champions League, and yet here Celtic are. So that's going to be I don't think it'll affect the players or the preparation really at all. But it's just quite weird to see a Europa League game not on a Thursday night. But it is a big one for Celtic, Sean, because like the opening two games, one was a fairly narrow defeat. The other one, Bayern Leverkusen, just showed their class really. But Celtic, I think probably, if they want to get out of this group, need to take 6 points from the Ferencvaros games now, and then probably beat Betis at home as well. So it's a tall order, but I mean, have to start at some point.
I would think at least 4 from the double header, but I think it was the three of us actually when the draw was made. We all earmarked the double header against Ferencvaros is key to any sort of European football after Christmas, and I think that has held true. They've lost to Betis and Leverkusen as well, 3-1 and 2-0, which you could take positives from that in terms of the amount Celtic scored against Betis, I suppose. If you're really glass half full, glass 3/4 full. I think Ange Postecoglou said himself it's essentially vital to win this one at least, but he's probably talking about both. And I think when you I had a wee look at Ferencvaros in terms of form. They lost at the weekend. They rested a few players with this game in mind, but they've still lost at home to Zalagirsig at the weekend 2-1. But they missed a penalty to equalise and they hit the bar twice, which kind of sounds familiar to a couple of Celtic games this season. So overall, they have been in good form domestically. They've won 6 and lost 2, but they've yet to draw any game in any competitive game. This season so far, and they've had 19 competitive matches already. So they do struggle to keep a clean sheet as well. 6 in those 19 matches, so you could easily see, given Celtic's offensive options, you could see that's possibly a wee confidence booster for Celtic getting into the game. They always get into the game thinking they can score, but knowing that the opposition do concede more often than not is also a confidence booster too, you would imagine.
It's an important one, Alison. If Celtic don't get this one over the line of the 3 points secured by any way, it's just going to bring more questions and disrupt this momentum that Celtic seem to be building back slightly at the moment.
Yeah, I think you can sense it's a very tentative recovery. You know, there's been a lot going on over the last 3 months, bringing in a whole glut of new players, trying to overhaul the philosophy within the team. I think you can see it slowly taking root. I think you can see the kind of football that Ange Postecoglou wants this team to play. I think you can see the attacking momentum that Celtic are trying to build. I think there are still question marks over them defensively. But I think you're right. I think the last thing you want is another setback to piece together back-to-back league games away from home, which is a big thing. It offers now some scope to build on, and I think you would want to see a positive result. And I think, no disrespect to Ferencvaros, the Hungarian champions, but I think Celtic should fancy their chances against them at home on their own turf, and it's a game that they should be going out and looking to win.
There's a question coming in here, Sean, from David Bradley, asking if we think that Abada is deserving of a start against Bayer Leverkusen. I'm not sure the tone behind the question. What do you reckon?
I think so, because Forrest doesn't fit yet, is it? So I don't really see any other option just now, I suppose. But I see where he's coming from. I presume the underlying notion there is that he's been quite inconsistent. He's up and down a wee bit. And I think when we done my power rankings last week, it was quite surprising how low down Abada actually was when you collated what those of us that do the matches have actually rated him every match this season. Although his raw statistics have been really good, and again, he's still a young guy, he's still just arrived at the club. I still do think he's had a very positive start. It's just that inconsistency of youth, I would say, that he's been a victim of so far, and it just so happens that it's a wee bit of a trough just now, but that's where the squad depth comes into it. There's not that many wingers as it stands with people still injured. But when Forrest's back, I still expect Forrest to be first choice, and Abada will get game time when it's rotation time rather than every single game twice a week.
I suppose Mikey Johnson's fit again, Alison.
Yeah, he came off the bench and played a big part role. I wouldn't fancy that he'll start. I don't think he's played enough football to start. I think Abada will begin the game. I think that's his shirt just now. I think he's nailed down that position until I think James Forrest is back. Like Sean, I think Forrest's experience and I think what he offers takes him back into the team. But at the minute, I can't see past Abada starting tomorrow afternoon.
It's going to be hard to break that habit today, I think. So it's a big one for Celtic, and the midfield will be important as always. What Ange Postecoglou decides to do with Callum McGregor really decides what happens in the midfield, and the other two that will play with him kind of follow on from that, whether it's a defensive midfielder along with Turnbull or if it's Rogic and Turnbull together, because as Sean has recognised a couple of times that the depth is just so shallow in the central midfield there that there's not really too many options really to choose from. So with Callum McGregor in the team, David Turnbull will probably be in the team as well. It's usually shown between either Tom Rogic or Baton or McCarthy or one of the others. Do you expect Callum McGregor to be played as the sole anchor or one of the more attacking ones?
I'm unsure now, to be honest. I don't know what he's going to do now. I thought Beaton might have retained his place away to Motherwell on Saturday. Obviously, Ange Postecoglou got it spot on because the guy that came in for him set up the first goal. But it's always a risk, especially in European football. And I know it's not Bayer Leverkusen and it's not Betis, but it's still a league champion. It's still a decent team. Celtic have been stung with them before, albeit with different players. There is a risk playing Rogic and Turnbull together in games like that. There's also a benefit, of course, if you're going to be ball dominant and stuff. But it'll be an intriguing one. I think you might see Beaton coming back in. But it's just uncertain just now because he does like to have those kind of the two creative midfielders to try and get the early goal and stuff. So it's almost kind of balancing it up. Do you think that they'll contribute enough on the kind of defensive end to justify or even to create enough to be the starting midfielders along with Callum McGregor deeper? No, it's an intriguing one, definitely.
Yeah. All right then. Look, well, thanks for joining us, everyone. It's a big game tomorrow, so we'll be all over it as normal on the Celtic way, and then back to domestic matters at the weekend. So remember, you can subscribe for £1 a month. That's just coming along the bottom of your screen now, and that will support you. It'll support us and give you what you want until the end of the year for a really good price. And you can also subscribe to us on YouTube, and you get alerts whenever we go live and we're doing any podcasts or any tactical videos or interviews go online. So thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Thank you.